Breaking news on this massive hurricane now on a collision course with Florida. Irma strengthening in the Atlantic, becoming the strongest storm to hit the Atlantic in a decade. It is now a Category 5 hurricane with winds at 185 miles per hour. A Florida governor has already declared a state of emergency for all 67 counties. And you see those store shelves. People are already swiping food in the case of an emergency. A lot of parts of Florida are already seeing long lines for gas. Let's get more on Irma's path. Meteorologist Tom Sater in the Weather Center with the latest. Talk to me.
Well, Brooke, everybody take a good look at this because you don't see this very often. It continues to stagger the imagination with its rapid development and its growth. It just got stronger by another 5 miles per hour. This now ties the second strongest hurricane we've ever had in recorded history for the Atlantic Basin. It ties Hurricane Wilma, excuse me, that's 2005. Just behind now, Hurricane Allen in 1980. We've got winds up to 185 miles per hour. This is going to devastate the northern islands of the Lesser Antilles, and I think probably the eye will move right over the island of Anguilla. And again, it's not going to discriminate between million-dollar homes and nice accommodations and hotels, and of course everyone else who lives around the islands. After it moves through there, we've got warnings now. British and U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, they're under a state of emergency. We could see maybe 9, 10, 11-foot storm surges with this, and not to mention that even though the center may stay over land or water for the most part, those hurricane winds, Brooke, are so broad, they're going to knock out power and communications to much of the island chain. Now, as we watch it progress forward, we're going to need every single day this week because there will be fluctuations in its strength interacting with land. Not just the eye, but most likely the outer bands will cause it to maybe drop to a Category 3. If it makes its way over Cuba and the northern coast, could drop to a 2. But I think we're going to find the waters, which we know are much warmer closer to Florida than where it is now. That's going to be like jet fuel. So every day is important to watch this. The computer models, an excellent agreement. Sometime on Saturday, we thought yesterday maybe it would be Friday, but now Saturday it will get picked northward, picked up. It'll turn to the right. But until that turn happens, we cannot let anybody know for sure exactly where landfall will be. The models are really interesting because some of them are on the east coast of Florida, some up toward the Carolinas, and then a little bit maybe on the west coast, maybe into the Gulf of Mexico. We can't rule that out yet either. But again, if you look at some of the models now, this is a European model in blue, the U.S. model, which handle these storms really nicely. In fact, the European has been spot on even with Harvey last week. But watch what happens when it gets to Cuba and then moves to the north. As we get into Monday overnight, again, this is September 11th, we've got the U.S. model scraping the coast, much like last year when Matthew moved up in this area and we had historic flooding in the Carolinas. But the European, even since last Thursday, Brooke, has placed it in this area again on Monday. That'll make a possible landfall in southwest coastline of Florida. But anything still goes. As we watch this move northward, I mean, we're looking at a major category, either 3, 4, or possibly a 5. And when these models continue to show our zone right now, all these models have to do with the U.S. model. We know we're looking at a significant impact by the end of the week. But every day is going to be important, Brooke, as you know.
Can't believe how intense she is already. Florida taking this super seriously. Tom, thank you. In fact, Monroe County, Florida will be issuing a mandatory evacuation starting tomorrow. All tourists, all homeowners in the Florida Keys being urged to get out of town, get out of those low-lying islands as the storm is moving closer. And while a lot of people in the path of Irma will be evacuating, some so-called extreme meteorologists will be heading directly into the storm's eye. My next guest is one of those who's making plans now to head toward Hurricane Irma's landfall. He is Reed Timmer, an AccuWeather storm chaser. So Reed, you do this professionally. You just heard Tom talk about how, the potential for how powerful she is. Why do you do this, and where are you going?
Well, I've been storm chasing for about 20 years now, and right now our goals are twofold. The first is to measure wind speed inside the eye wall. We had this instrument, this probe behind me, deployed in Hurricane Harvey on top of a bridge, and we were able to measure some of those tornado-like mesovortices that were rotating around the inner eye wall. And so our goal is to deploy this again in the path of that eye wall, possibly measure some of those winds, hopefully not even close to 185 miles an hour sustained, but it does look like this is going to be a very powerful hurricane that is threatening South Florida. I also bring many other supplies, gasoline. I have enough food and water to survive for a week out there if I have to. And one of our main goals is also to update in the conditions as they're evolving with this storm as it approaches South Florida.
Right, you're the one who helps update, so the rest of everyone else can figure out how bad it is. How do you ride this out? What kind of vehicle are you in?
Well, we'll have an armored vehicle down there. It's covered with a protective coating, a polyethylene Kevlar composite that can protect us from flying debris. But the real key is you want to find those elevated concrete structures, and it's very important that you get out of the path of this thing, basically, because if you don't have a concrete structure. My goal is to find a parking garage and then get on those higher elevations as I'm going up to stay out of the storm surge as well, because if you're exposed in these types of winds or any conditions, or if you're below that storm surge level, this is a very deadly storm. It's a very deadly storm anyways, so you have to take it very seriously. If it does go anywhere near the Keys, you don't want to be on those, because those will likely be underwater from that storm surge, and you could be trapped down there for a long time. It's very important people in the path of these storms heed those evacuation warnings. This storm is the real deal. We said the same thing about Harvey, and this one has winds that are even stronger.
Gosh, Reed Timmer, good luck. Be safe, please.